Hello everyone, Zellerant here, and for today's video on Umamusume, we're going to talk a little bit about Make a New Track and kind of my first impressions now having played it on Global versus me having tried it out when I was playing on the JP version. One of the big things on the JP version that is it has a lot more quality of life, as well as a lot stronger cards that I was able to use while testing out Make a New Track that kind of can give some false impressions. I know some other people probably have played in the JP version to try it out as well, and depending on what you had to work with would kind of dictate what your thoughts might have been on it. And using cards like Almond Eye Speed on the JP version really makes it where you're a lot stronger than you really would be with your own cards. So now having played it on Global with what we kind of have, we didn't get any quality of life or anything realistically that made it better like we hoped we would get. Stuff like rerolls, maybe the thing where it makes the events a little bit quicker, where you don't have to watch the entire cutscenes and all that. And so I will say these runs are quite long, even if you're moving through them fairly quickly. Even when you're making like mistakes, like me, I always forget to use the hammers. I think that's going to be the biggest problem for me on these runs, is remembering to use the hammers on the races, the G1 races. But I can definitely feel that is a very large learning curve to it. But I mean, the Umas you get out of it are significantly stronger than anything you'll get out of Unity Cup. All my runs up to this point have pretty much been trash. Like very bad RNG or very bad mistakes I've made, and they've all been S pluses, and it's not even close. I've almost had SSs on my very first run was almost an SS, and that run was ass. Tons of mistakes made. And it still came out pretty good. And we kind of take a look just to kind of showcase the few of them. Now, I've already thrown the Umas away, but it will show your scenario record ones. I've been just trying out the idea of building my ace and Rita Taishin. And so one of the things that I will say is a big negative is the fact that Umas that are not good at miles, or also in the future, ones that are not good at mediums, like when we build for the sprint, are not going to be fun. I think the sprint ones, though, won't be as bad because there's a lot of sprints early on, as well as miles. But Narita Taishin, I have 4 mile sparks so that she goes all the way up to a B. And man, even with the decks I'm using, and I can kind of show you the decks I'm using here. Now you can kind of ignore the skills I've taken because I just took whatever to see what my rank can be. Even with this deck, I'm using a fairly whaley deck, and I've tried different variations of it. So this is the one I used, kind of going with the Admire Vega to get that Daring Strike, 2 speed, 2 wit with stamina, Super Creek. And as you can see here, with stamina sparks, which is pretty much all I have in here, stamina looks like I should be able to get it with a good run with just Super Creek, which is fairly good. But the problem is when it comes to the races, the very early ones, as a mile runner, man, she loses nonstop on these miles. They suck. End closers, I feel like that's one of the big things, is end closers are just going to suck and Make a New Track on building them. Because, especially if they're not like naturally good at miles in those early races, because you're getting blocked. The biggest problem is she gets blocked so easily. Like, we would watch some of the races and she's just stuck behind everybody, and you just don't have the stats to get out of it. And I've only had one run where she like won all of the first ones consistently. So end closers so far are basically clock killers, and having to use your clocks early kind of ruins the ability to use clocks later, and then you get screwed on some of the G1s, which then makes, when you're having these losses, you kind of just fall behind the game in terms of being able to buy all the stuff in the shop that you need to really power them up. And so if I can get early wins, like if I didn't get wrecked by losses and stuff, like you could probably add like 100 stats here on these. I probably could have maxed stamina, maxed speed, and maybe had like an additional 50, 100 plus power without the losses, just from the fact that I have better items and stuff. And then you have like this one right here, same kind of problems that I've had with her. But I will say one thing I have found is we are getting, you get so many skill points and you're getting the random skills that I think one strategy that I hadn't heard people really talk about in it, but taking on skills early on just to help you be consistent in getting those wins. Because like the losses, if you take the losses, you're losing a lot of those coins towards buying stuff in that shop. And if you fall behind, like there's just so much stuff being thrown at you. If you win consistently, like you're going to get a strong stat stick on her. And depending on the Uma, if you're having to bring those extra sparks like Mile and whatnot, it's going to be much harder to hit the distance. So right now, long, this is definitely going to be the hardest one. So this is kind of coming in trying to build a long Uma. I know people are loving like Mihono Bourbon Valentine's, because she's going to be very easy to build and get a very strong Uma, because not only is she's got everything she needs in her kit to just win the races if you want to take the skills early, but she's actually naturally good at everything, and being a front runner, she doesn't have to deal with the getting blocked stuff. But something like Narita Taishin, I know Gold Ship, although she's Mile C, if you're bringing Tamamo Cross, holy crap, with her Mile and all the Mile Sparks you're going to want to take, it's not going to be fun. And I think that's my big negative to it. But overall, I will say Trackblazer is so much better than Unity Cup. Even with the RNG screwing you over, the runs just feel good towards the end. I like when you have those big hits in the summer, man, you get those big hits. I had, I don't know which one it is here. I think it's this one. No, this one. I think it's this one, even though it's my lowest rated one in these groups. This one, I had like 800 speed by the end of first summer, because I had this the speed training effectiveness item plus the 60% plus training effectiveness item. I got a double hit on the speed Kita-san and Biko like 3 times in a row in that summer, and it was like 100 speed each day in the summer. And I had like the cupcakes, the energy items, so I never had to worry about energy or my mood. So when you get that hit, that god roll, like even this one was not a god roll, but because I think this one had a trash second summer. But when you get that god roll, when you have 2 really good summers, which is I think the biggest part of making you track, is getting that very good summer. Man, are you going to have a crazy strong Uma. S plus is like the low bar for a good card. I will say, if you're free to play and your cards are fairly weak or you're a little bit low in the race bonus, yes, getting S pluses will be more your high to SSs being your very high runs. But if you've been playing since the game launches, S pluses are going to be fairly normal. And so everything in making new tracks is just going to be overall better for you. Now, this is coming from an end. I've not tried front runners or anything yet. But yeah, I mean, overall, I feel it's pretty good. I'm trying to think of anything else I can think on it. I've only been playing it. It's only been out for, what, like 5 hours now? I've done about 5 runs. So the hour long to do a run is about right. Especially now, just because you're having to try and take your time. But I will say, me trying to make them not as long has made me make a lot of mistakes. That, like I said early, the hammers are the biggest thing that I forget to do. And I've heard other people in chat saying that too. They forget to use the hammers on the races. And yeah, that can be tricky with that. Luckily, you can turn it on to give you the stat items automatically in the options. So that's a nice quality of life there. You don't have to manually. If you didn't know that, the items that give you stats, you can have it automatically give you the stats. There's literally no reason not to use them instantly. So you can just go in your settings and turn that on. But the hammers, there's nothing that has it remind you, hey, you have this hammer you can use on a G1. And that is a significant, you get significantly more stats. It's a race bonus added to it. So it's like having I think the small one's like 20, and I think the gold ones are 40. That's a huge difference. So yeah. But that's kind of my thoughts on it so far. I'll be playing it a lot this weekend, even though I'm quite busy. And so this is just like first initial getting to try it impressions. I will say you're going to struggle. It's going to be aggravating. I will say I'm not as aggravated with it as I was with Unity Cup in the beginning, because you know one thing that I'm not having problems with? Winning overall. Like the mechanic of the final Twinkle Star Climax or whatever they call it. I mean, you just win it. Like I have not seen losses in that. And even if you have a loss in that, all you have to be is number 1 in the leaderboard. You don't actually have to win every race. Now, if you get like last place in a race, of course, but being able to use clocks everywhere is quite nice, but you've got to be very careful. I've probably already drained... Yeah, I've probably drained about 20 now at this point, because I think I was at like 680. So I've already drained 20 clocks in probably like, what, 5 to 6 hours? So, yeah, we got to be very careful. I'm going to probably, with end closers, at least Narita Taishin, you just accept some losses at some points. And if you want to get that more consistency, take skills early. So to kind of add to that as well, as one thing I found is I'm just going to start taking skills. So Daring Strike, when I get that, taking that immediately if I have the skill points. I take Straightaway Spurt immediately on her now to help with those miles. And as soon as I can get Encroaching Shadow, I take Encroaching Shadow. Because a lot of the miles, the late race starts like right on the straightaway, and then that can give you somewhat of an advantage to hopefully win most of them. But yeah, to try and conserve clocks, I think at some point you just got to sacrifice a couple losses here and there, and only the big ones, like making sure you get the triple crown and all that, are the ones where you probably want to use the clocks. Because if you don't, and you play a lot, you will run out of them. Especially if you're like me, and if you get a bad first inspiration, you like to throw away your Umas very early. That's a quick way to burn through clocks, because I might use 1 or 2 before the first inspiration already. And yeah, that's just not fun. But yeah, that's pretty much my first impressions on making a new track. It is fun, but definitely some struggles. It really sucks that we did not get any of the quality of life to just overall make it a lot better, especially for the people that are a little bit more casual and don't have the time. But we'll just kind of have to see how it goes from here. I'll probably give a follow-up one after I've been doing it for a week on kind of my thoughts on it. And kind of showcase whatever ace I end up building for Narita Taishin. I'll probably do a showcase run video over the weekend of how I'm approaching the runs and how it might help you if you're struggling at this point. But yeah, that's pretty much it for now. And if you like my content, if you could like, comment, and subscribe, it really helps. And thanks for watching.